I'm Jesse Quinalty, and this is Firefighters and Fire Trucks Getting Ice Cream. Here we have a 1991 Sutphen Deluge painted in bubblegum pink. It is part of a fleet of Pink Heels fire engines that are spread out all over the country. This particular rig is from the Gwinnett County chapter in Georgia, and it is owned by my friend Mike Sales. Mike learned that he had Hodgkin's lymphoma while studying communications in college. During his chemotherapy, he was visited by his family that arrived with a pink police car and 2 pink fire engines. Shortly after his last treatment, he changed career directions to become a firefighter, and soon after being hired by Gwinnett County Fire Department, he began raising funds to purchase a Pink Heels apparatus of his very own. This rig is named Irene after a friend that passed from cancer that supported Mike through his journey. Hi everybody, I'm Jesse Quinalty, and welcome back to another episode of Firefighters and Fire Trucks Getting Ice Cream. I'm out teaching at Fire Rescue International in Atlanta this year, and my guest speaker today will be Billy Goldfeder. We'll be talking with the mustache about some cool stuff, and we're actually driving a Pink Heels fire engine from Gwinnett County, so we'll be talking about a little bit of cancer stuff, obviously a big thing in the fire service, pretty cool ride, cruising down to go get some ice cream at Sweet Stack Creamery. So stay tuned, we'll see you in a second. Hey Bill. What's up, buddy?
What's going on?
Come on in.
All right, looking forward to this
ride. The water is warm, and
Atlanta.
I mean hot. But
It's
I said
toasty here in Atlanta.
You can roll down that window. We'll make it work.
Okay.
Turn signal. It's not clicking off.
You gotta manually turn it on.
I got it. Just like all the other rigs I've been driving for the show. The turn signals don't work. The power steering pump doesn't work. So.
Like this?
You ready? You good?
Yeah, man.
All right, here we go. So, how's it going in Atlanta for you?
It's hot, Atlanta.
Yeah.
But we're having a great conference, and turnout looks to be pretty good.
Yeah, it's been cool.
And we're getting a lot done.
I'm excited for it to be in Phoenix next year. That'll be a lot easier on me, but...
Well, we'll look forward to Phoenix and saying, man, we wish we were in Atlanta. It was so much colder there.
Right. It'll be a dry heat. Don't worry. It'll be a dry heat.
Microwave oven.
Yeah.
So no, we're having a great time, and lots of classes and lots of activity. I've been tied up in a lot of meetings.
Right.
But that's what happens when you're really important. So you got to go to a lot of meetings and stuff.
Yeah, or at least important in your own mind.
That's correct. That's right.
And you taught a class while you're out here as well.
I did. So Gordon and I did a class on the fire officer's responsibility.
Okay.
And not just in the firehouse, but on the fire scene as well. So many people promote up and have absolutely no training, and sometimes no qualification to be an officer. You take a test, now you're an officer.
Right.
But you're a psychologist, you're a command leader, you're a babysitter, you're a counselor.
Marriage counselor.
All the above. And
financial planner.
So what we try to do is raise that awareness.
Yeah.
So then they'll, take additional training, take the courses.
Right.
And because, again, so many departments do not provide any, one day you're driving an engine, the next day you're in charge of the crew. And what changed other than your uniform or your hat color?
Right.
So, yeah.
That's always the cool thing about Fire Rescue International. Like, they have the company officer track and the chief officer track, and really, and unfortunately, a lot of people would just take tactics and strategy classes at a lot of places where they go, and
Sure.
this one, it kind of forces you like, hey, this might be something you don't want to learn about community risk reduction or things like that, but it's necessary, and it kind of puts you in that position to do it.
You got to be fully rounded. You got to be like a Swiss Army knife,
Right.
and be able to pull out whatever qualifications training you have. You know, one of my roles is being on the IFC board of directors, and we've taken a very strong push over the last probably 5-8 years with a focus on company officer training,
Right.
chief officer training. You come to FRI, we're not going to teach you how to stretch a line down a hallway.
Right.
That's not what we see as our responsibilities. Some other fine conferences out there that offer that and other opportunities. But we're going to give you the stuff that you may not necessarily want to even learn. But we've got some of the best in the business teaching it to you, so you maybe get hooked on it and start to understand, you know.
Yeah.
My responsibility, it doesn't start when the tones and the bells ring. It's from the moment you start shift, or if you're a volunteer in a volunteer fire department, your responsibility starts when the whistle goes off, or during meetings, or whatever you have at that volunteer fire department.
It is your turn, but I'll go if you're not going to. Well, and you getting to teach with Gordon Graham, I guess you can't complain about that at all.
Yeah. So Gordon and I, we've been teaching over, 26, 27 years. And, I do my fire stuff, he does his police stuff and all. But him and I became friends by accident. And as many people may or may not know, but when he and I formed Firefighter Close Calls, he funds every nickel of that.
Right.
We do the work and he pays the bills. And he's given back to the fire service far more than many people who you'd think would be giving back and who don't.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's amazing. We have a lot of fun. Lucky we can bounce off each other, but he's one of the closest people in my life, and he's a true gift to the fire service and the public safety community in general.
And how long have you guys been doing Firefighter Close Calls now?
So 21 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and we've been friends since the late 90s. We were teaching together in the early 90s, and just kind of evolved. So yeah, I mean he's such a good guy, and he's so genuine. What you see is what you get with him.
Right. Now, how did Firefighter Close Calls start? Like, where did you get the push to decide you were going to do that?
So the first line of duty death I was aware of was in the early 70s, when a neighboring fire officer basically had his head blown off when a van that was on fire had a compressed gas cylinder in it.
Okay.
It exploded, and it killed that captain instantly. And I was a young fire. This was in the early 70s. And then we had a couple other line of duty deaths at the time in the area I worked in. And what really struck me is that it was like accepted. It was like normal. Well, yeah, we're going to die. And I was at the stage of my career where you didn't say shit. You just listened.
Right.
But it really stuck in there. And over time, I got the interest in, certainly there are necessary firefighter line of duty deaths.
Right.
The only way we're going to stop that is we just stop going to emergencies. But we're in a risky business. What we need to do is understand how to manage that risk, right? So anyway, I went through my career and, was teaching, and I became a chief in '82, and we were talking one day, Gordon and I, because I had started the Secret List, which is a newsletter.
Right.
And he asked me about that, and he said, why don't you have a website? And I didn't have the money or the time. And he said, well, I'll tell you what, when you find the time, I'll fund the project. And the rest is history, as they say.
Right.
So that's how we started Firefighter Close Calls.
And when you started the Secret List, you were just fanning out close calls and line of duty deaths to a bunch of friends.
So all I was doing. So I got my first AOL account, and I was reading news, and we didn't have Google or any of that stuff then.
Yeah.
And I'd say, hey, did you see this fire here? Or we'd have a fire, and I'd send pictures. It was just, maybe 15, 20 friends. And that grew and it grew, and this one said, can you add me to your email list? And it didn't have a name then.
Right. Well, didn't you tell somebody well, it's a secret?
Yeah. So they said, who's on your emailing list? I said, it's a secret. And then I said, you know what? That's probably a good idea. So I started putting parentheses, the secret list after each one. But I then started blind carbon copying the people on the list. So nobody would know who was on it.
Right.
Other than the first few dozen who were on it. And then, now we have a system that sends it out. I write every one of them, other than maybe 1%.
Okay.
If I'm just incapacitated. But so it's really cool. And, we've had a heck of an impact. We know our numbers, and our numbers are crazy good from around the world. But we also know that we're making a difference from things people say to us, or write to us, or call, or I run into people at FRI, or whatever that is, and they say, hey, we read this, and we read that, and that's a big deal. We appreciate that.
Well, and the good thing is, it's not just line of duty deaths, it's the close calls like you're talking about.
Close calls, line of duty deaths.
We barely avoided tragedy, and I was trapped in a garage on a wildland fire 13 years ago. And it's amazing that as you start digging deeper into that, how much Swiss cheese model and how much human factors, crew resource management, and all those types of things play into it. And trying to get in front of that, that's where it comes into play.
And a lot of it's really not complicated.
Right.
It's just we get so stuck in this simple view world, and we don't look at the big picture.
Right.
A couple weeks ago, we had a fire officer in the east fall out of the rig, and he's in extremely critical condition. What are we going to do about it? I don't know. I think we've done everything we can until you make sure that you're secured in the rig and your doors won't open, or your seatbelt's on, or whatever.
Right.
I don't know what else we can do. So we've had a heck of an opportunity, and we've got about 10 other folks who also volunteer their time. And Firefighter Close Calls and Secret List is 100% nonprofit. We have no advertising or nothing.
Right.
So, and that also allows us to say whatever the hell we want, and without any worry.
You don't do that at all.
We do. I mean,
you don't do that at all.
The problem is, so many people these days are afraid to speak up, and if not you, who? You got to speak up on stuff, and so you speak up, you piss a few people off, and you get a few less Christmas cards. That's the whole negative of it. But people got to talk about stuff and speak up, and whether it's in your, and again, don't commit career suicide by speaking up. Like if your chief brings you to a meeting and he says to you in the audience, okay, anyone in here, you can raise your hand and say anything you want. I'll ask, you have total freedom. Don't believe that. Don't do that.
Right.
Just say, we're good, right? And then have your meeting in the parking lot.
Right.
Or go talk to the chief privately. You don't embarrass somebody. But if you've got issues, you should be able to have the intestinal fortitude and the courage to speak up. I mean, we've got solid, brave male and female firefighters that wouldn't think twice about jumping over a wall and getting in here and crawling down this hall. But when it comes to a significant issue or raising an issue, I'm not going to do that. You know what? And then we're going to redefine being courageous and brave, because you got to speak up. That's part of it.
Well, and one of the things after my entrapment that I really started doing a lot of research on, besides crew resource management, the other one that really got me was the Abilene paradox, the inability to manage agreement.
Sure.
And as I started doing more, and we've all been on those fires where we'll all meet at the chief officer buggy, and it's like, hey, we're going to go do this. And then there's 5 captains walking back to the rig going, that'll never work. Right. But nobody speaks up. And it's the same way in staff meetings when we're dealing with a disciplinary issue or whatever, is nobody wants to be the outcast, so we continue to go down a bad road.
So here's the issue with that, is the coach has got to develop a team. Okay? If you're a professional football player or whatever you do in the sports field, you do need to speak up, provide input, and then the bottom line is, though, then when the coach says, this is the play, this is the play. And so officers need to speak up as appropriate. Again, if you're going to diss your chief in front of your peers, you're a moron. I mean,
Right.
don't be stupid. I mean, if the chief says, I have questions, you have any questions? Yeah, when's the new engine 12 arriving? That's painless.
Right.
But if you're going to say, Chief, what about this stupid policy you developed? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about understanding, sizing up your environment to understand when and when we should not speak up on things.
Well, it's funny you bring up the blind carbon copy, so people wouldn't know who's on the list.
I'm working on software that will tell me who BCC's on it.
Well, even better than that, how long did you actually pull off Nozzle Head with people not knowing who it was?
So we're doing Nozzle Head probably 15 years, and I mean, when they drew the cartoon of him, the character, he had a big mustache, so people would ask me, but actually by contract, I wasn't allowed to say anything.
Right.
So when Fire Engineering bought Fire Rescue Magazine, Bobby Halton reached out and said, hey, we're going to take you out of the closet. And so it'll be Nozzle Head by Billy Goldfeder. And I was fine with that.
Right.
My only rule with Nozzle Head is don't edit a word. If you want me to write, don't edit a word. And they never did. And it was a lot of fun. It was when I write for Firehouse and I do close calls, I got to kind of stay within an arena.
And some of that is because of the department that you're.
Well, sure, absolutely.
But
they trust me to write about them.
Right.
I got to be honest. Yeah. But with Nozzle Head, it was Bart. I could say what I want, and we covered everything from firehouse behavior to LGBT issues to minority, African American women issues,
right.
Tactical issues, apparatus issues, and we're coming out with a book. It's going to be called something to do with Nozzle Head. That'll be the title. We're working on it right now. It'll be out at FDIC next year.
Nice.
And it's going to be like the 100 top Nozzle Head columns, and it's really a lot of fun.
Right. Well, it's just like when Nick Brunacini was doing his articles that were, those were not edited, and you just get raw material that, hey, sometimes we need to hear.
Dude, in this world, so much of what you hear is filtered and redesigned. And I don't just mean news. I mean, your chief leaves a city manager's meeting, and she or he has to rephrase
right.
what was said or whatever. So
and it's a political game. It's a
sure. Don't be naive, right? Exactly.
Right.
There are politics, but good Lord, sometimes we just got to say what it is and let's go forward instead of all this, silly facades and BSing and just get out with it already.
Yeah. All right. So currently you're the deputy chief of Loveland Sims.
Yeah. Right. I'm a deputy chief.
Okay.
We've got a couple of us. They've been there. Next year it'll be 20 years. And not a bad place to be by any means. Good department. About 4 stations. About 5,000, 5,500 runs. But we run regionally. All our departments in the area run with each other.
Okay.
So a house fire in our area is getting 4 or 5 different departments. And we don't have like a county fire service or anything
right.
like that. It's all municipal and regional.
So you really got to work well with your neighbors and train together. And
brother, you said a mouthful.
Yeah.
That's exactly the key, is how we get along and how we work with each other, and we do really well. And there's always some knucklehead that,
Right.
But our focus in our region generally, which is the northeast greater Cincinnati area, everybody plays pretty well with each other, and we have common policies, procedures. We can actually talk to each other on the same radio channel.
Right.
And a neighboring chief arrives at a fire and he takes command, and that's great. We don't care, and vice versa. So it's taken a long time to get there.
Yeah.
It wasn't always that way, and of course in some areas around the country it's still not that way.
Some places they won't cross the train tracks if there's a fire on the other side of the track.
They don't want to play nice, and I've never been one to get that, but until I become a supreme commander, it's not going to change.
Yeah. Well, is that in the cards for you, or you like being just
no. I was
you
chief.
want to just be right there.
I was chief 17 years
Yeah.
at 2 other places. And I have a genetic defect that I just cannot, I don't get it when it comes to City Hall stuff.
Right.
So I believe that I'm a much better deputy chief than I am to be the actual fire chief. Because in most cases these days, the actual fire chief is just a part of the city manager or the mayor's staff.
Right.
And that's not me. So yeah, this is my 46th or 7th year, and I'm much better on the one step below.
Yeah.
And I know that, and that's probably a good thing.
Right. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. You know.
No better deputy chief than me to have your back, chief. That's because I have the background, the experience, and as a boss, and a good boss needs good people under him, and I try my best, and we're pretty good. Good place.
Yeah.
We do a lot of community stuff. We're very engaged. We do. Here's an interesting fact that we manage our own hydrant system.
Okay.
We do our own testing. I mean, from the hydrant up.
Right.
We do the testing
All the painting,
and recording.
all that.
Absolutely. We see a fire department not maintaining their hydrants is like a cop not maintaining their gun.
Right.
I don't want somebody else doing it. So, yeah, it's just one of the more unique things that we do at LSFD.
Well, and even sometimes, even if your department doesn't do the hydrants, just your pre-connect hose load, your nozzle
Sure.
maintenance, and
Sure.
those are your, like you said, that's your gun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, no, this is it. I'm 64 years old, and there's no reason I have to retire, but I'm on the downhill slide now, enjoying my
Right.
6 beautiful grandkids. And like I said, I got a boss who likes me, and why I'm not going to change much right now. I'm just enjoying stuff.
Yeah. When's your retirement plan coming into effect?
No, there is none.
Right.
You know what it is if I start drooling during this interview, and like my left hand doesn't work or something.
Right. Well, I hope not. I'll definitely light it up if that's the case for you, Billy. I'll get you to the hospital. Even though I didn't know where it was just now, I'll look that up.
Funny.
So.
No, I don't want to stop, but I also don't want to be that guy that's walking around on the fire ground in a walker and oxygen either. So I don't know that I have a plan though. One day at a time kind of thing. And they're not in any rush for me to go anywhere, and I'm sure as hell not to go anywhere. So, and I'm going to stay where we are. I mean, I wouldn't retire and move to Florida.
Right.
Same as this weather. Hot all the time.
The really cool thing about this show is, we're connecting with a lot of those fire service, people that are on their way out that have a ton of that knowledge, like yourself. And I unfortunately came up with this idea after Brunacini. It was at Nashville, right after he passed, and me and Bruno got to talk about a lot of cool stuff prior to. But I wish I would have had this, for Al.
He was such a smart man, but simple smart.
Right.
I know a lot of really smart people, and I don't know what the hell they're talking about. But when Bruno spoke, it was dead clear what he was talking about.
You could take the most difficult topic, and he would just make it so simple for you.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, there's a guy who really made his mark and made a difference.
Yeah.
And to this day, we're still doing stuff because he suggested we do it. Oh, here comes the crew.
There you go. Engine 1 downtown.
Engine 1.
And the box.
There you go. Here comes the ambulance.
That's it. Hurry up, guys. They're going a different way.
Maybe.
Threw me off. All right, here's the ice cream place. I'm going to back in right here if I can. I'm gonna back in right here, and it's across the street.
Oh, right here? Cool.
I thought I had code lights on.
Go ahead.
Is that car moving?
Go ahead. You're good. You're good.
We're gonna get some ice cream?
Yeah, let's do that. I'm gonna change my glasses too.
All right.